All right, welcome everyone. We're actually going to get started. We appreciate everybody's patience. We just want to give a few minutes. So again, I appreciate everybody being prompt for 6 o'clock tonight. So again, welcome. Thank you so much for attending with us tonight. I am Meg Barrera. I am the chairperson of the high school building committee. Tonight, I will be joined up here for presentation with Kat Pajewski, who is our assistant town manager, and Kathy Breeder, our superintendent. But I also want to make sure that we recognize that we have many of our building committee members with us here tonight, as well as online. So we have a good representation of all the people that are working very diligently on this project. So what we hope to do tonight is give you some high-level updates on the project and the status to date. It's going to very much align with the newsletter that hopefully you did receive in your mailbox. It went to everybody in town, and that was kind of a good level set. We're going to provide a little more context around some of those pieces of information, and then open it up for questions and answers when we're all done. Make sense? Excellent. All right. So again, just a list of our committee members, and as I said, there's several here with us this evening, but these are all people who are available to you. We have both voting members and our non-voting members listed here, and a large group of people representing both the community partners, our district, our town, to help us kind of move this project forward and make sure we have all our stakeholders represented and aligned around our goals for the project. So what we want to do is just kind of quickly run through the timeline. And this is something that should be very familiar to everybody. This is the timeline we have been communicating at the time of referendum and beyond. We've added some more detail as we've gotten more familiar with the design process and some decisions we've made along the way. But just to kind of highlight some of the key and major milestones for the timeline. So that design and approval process, so you'll see July of 21 through July of 22. If you remember, I think tomorrow is our year anniversary of actually the referendum passing. So from last year to this year, all the work that's been done is really around really enhancing that schematic design that was presented to the community at the point of referendum. So there's been a lot of work within the committee, within our design committee meetings, within all sorts of subcommittee meetings to make sure that we really enhance that design to meet the educational specifications. So that was kind of that year difference that you see there. And then we move into the bidding and awards to subcontractors. So again, that July timeframe of 2022 to September of 2022. So coming up right on our heels here. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that early enabling phase that you see there, which is involving site, traffic, and parking work. So we're going to go into that in more detail, but just kind of keep that in the back of your mind for now. Moving right on to phase one. So that's actually construction of the new high school building. And so this is the timeline that everybody really cares about. That's September 2022 to August of 2024. So what we're saying there is that the high school will be built. The new high school building will be completed in August of 2024, which would allow us to move students into the building in that fall timeframe. Make sense? All right, and then one of the things we wanted to mention that was in the newsletter is the groundbreaking ceremony. So this is really exciting for us. October timeframe is what we're looking for here. This is really a celebration of all the work that has been done, community support that we received along the way, and all the work to be done moving forward. So really a great event, lots more to do in planning here, but kind of keep that one in the back of your mind too, and you'll hear more about that in newsletters upcoming, as well as we'll certainly get more communications out about that. Phase two is really renovation of that central office or locker room. So a lot of times you'll hear that referred to as the 900 wing. And that's really part of that June 24 to 25, July 25 timeframe. So that's the renovation of central office and the demolition of the current high school building. Now you'll see a note in there, but that does not include the 1928 building in our planning. So one of the things I want to make sure everyone here is very clear on, and everybody online is very clear on, is that I will not be talking about anything regarding the 1928 building this evening. So, or any of my counterparts here tonight. It is an initiative that's happening within town. It certainly is closely aligned with our project, but it is a separate project altogether with a separate building committee managing the work around it. So again, we certainly are very aligned and keeping in close contact. We have a liaison from our building committee on the 1928 building committee. So it is certainly something we're communicating and making sure that we're staying in touch with each other on, but it's not something that I'm going to address tonight. So then moving on to that phase 3 or site work is January 2025 to June 2025. So when we're talking about a complete project ending, everything is done. The building is complete, the 900 wing or the central office and locker rooms are complete. The site work associated to any work that we've done is complete. The end date is that June 2025. Makes sense to everybody? Excellent. So here's where we're going to kind of dig in a little bit deeper to some of the things we've talked about or I've mentioned here. Early enabling phase, I'm going to talk a little bit more about. We're also going to get an update from Kat on value engineering and the importance of that to a project like this and our project specifically. We're going to talk about project budget and state reimbursement, which we've got great news about and are happy to share. And then Kathy Gruder is going to give us kind of an update and a really good analysis of our interior renderings and what that means to learning overall. Like, it was a great update that I heard the other day from her, and it was really exciting to kind of see all those pieces come together. So one of the things that we want to talk about a little bit more is that early enabling phase. So it's going to be, hopefully, you'll be able to see the schematic up there, which is a little tough, but one of the things we've talked about as a building committee is how best to make sure that the pieces of this project that we can put in place in order to help our overall timeline for completion, as well as how we can really assist with the district in helping the transition from school ending into construction. How do we make that move as smoothly as possible? And one of the things we talked about is we could really gain some efficiency as well as kind of remove some of the implications of having students on site during pre-construction work. And how can we make that a little bit easier for everybody? So this was a solution that was brought forward to us, which was an early enabling phase, which allows us to do, as you see there, preliminary site work, installing construction fence for safety and security, and construction of a temporary parking lot earlier in the process. So that process, as of right now in our conversations, will begin as of July 11th of 2022. So we're looking at the students having already finished school for the school year, starting this enabling or construction prep so that we are ready and prepared for construction to begin more towards the end of October. But it's really gaining some efficiency of not having the kids actually in the school and on site as we're doing some of this work, allowing us to really get a good handle on traffic patterns and making sure we can do some good communication efforts around that, and making sure we really understand and can protect our students, making sure it's a safe environment, getting a lot of that work done so that it's all in place by the time they come back to school at the end of August. Does that make sense to everybody? I'm going to point out a couple things. Hopefully you'll be able to see up there on the diagram, but you should see kind of a green line in the very top of the picture. Does everybody see it up there? So that green line is really that's the construction area, the construction fencing that we're talking about that will go in place during this early enabling phase. Some of the red and blue lines you'll see are really kind of traffic patterns. And again, the conversations we've been having with the police department and with the district and making sure we do this in a way that's safe and efficient. We all know that parking is already a challenge in that area. So we're doing everything we can to see if we can improve that and make sure that, you know, it's as efficient as possible throughout construction. And the other piece that I do want to point out is kind of this gray oval in the bottom right-hand portion of the picture. And that's really the temporary parking lot that I mentioned. So again, if you picture the lot, when in our current world, it's where the tennis courts are and kind of that parking lot that's to the right of the existing building. If you're facing forward or coming up Monteith, that's where the construction fencing is going to go. And then we want to make sure we supplement parking during the time of construction. So you can see kind of where that temporary parking lot is going to go in relation to the library. So it's really going in that green field at the base of the hill, right by the library, to help with parking. Yes.
Can we ask questions?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we're small enough for here.
Okay, because I'm John LaForest Royce, 51 Tanglewood Road. I do have a couple of questions relative to the early enabling phase. Specifically, does it include the widening or the entrance from Crestwood Drive, which is off of the Highlands? What is the involvement have been with the Highlands neighborhood? And is any of the berm work and the emergency road included in any of that? That was suggested by me probably about 1.5 years ago, pre-COVID probably. But I think it's important that those kind of things be looked at in advance, especially with parking. One of the things that we are already seeing in the Highlands is that there is a need to get with the town traffic committee or commissions, as well as the police department. We have a number of folks that are parking on streets in the Highlands currently because they were not able to get a parking pass or whatever in the springtime. No problem with that, but I can see that being escalated much more. None of the Highlands has any kind of one side of the road parking, no parking signs for where there's a hill, where there's an intersection. And we have a number of people that live there and currently park in some of those places. And I see that only being escalated. So if there's a way that if these are not included, those other things I mentioned, the berm and the emergency access road and riding of Crestwood, I think very important about the parking is that be addressed early on. I mean, maybe even before the school year is over, or at least educating folks that come September, when they're going to have to use this parking lot, their alternative is now not to use Highwood, Knollwood, and lots of the other side streets that are around there, because they will. So
let's take them one at a time here,
yeah.
And I think you can help us. Rose here from ONG and she's kind of our expert on our early enabling package. But as far as what's included, as far as the widening or any kind of updates to the access, is that part of early enabling?
When you say widening, there's a little bit of a driveway there.
Yep.
Is that the Crestwood?
Yes.
Right, the only thing we're doing in there is we're putting a gate in this summer. It's like a big vehicle gate. We're gonna be replacing the gates that's there. And we will be doing all the plantings. The berm went away. It's more of just a plantings. They decided they wanted to kind of leave the existing growth there. It's actually better. So we're supplementing with a whole bunch of plantings. That's part of this first phase, but physically it won't get done until closer to the fall, because that's when you plant the trees.
True, I think, yeah, I mean, I know that when you come to do construction time, Crestwood is gonna be your entrance for bringing in your equipment, et cetera. No?
We're never bringing in.
You're never bringing in Crestwood? Okay,
Just
because
only-
that was on the platter.
Just students.
What's that?
Students from the Highlands.
Just walking.
Walking.
Okay, all right. And then the other is that, you know, we have quite a bit of mishmash of the town not being really responsible and cleaning up fences and all those kind of things that are along that area, which is now wooded. And, you know, no one maintains any of that. No one really knows where somebody's property line is, any of that kind of stuff, because there's a mishmash of fences. So I think that's one of the things that really definitely needs to be worked out with the town, is making sure that, you know, either if you have to cut back any trees or if you're planting trees or whatever, you know, that you're doing it on the town property, not on somebody's backyard.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're leaving. There's an existing fence that's somewhat buried in the woods. I
Yeah.
believe that's staying. That's not part of our plan. We are just merely supplementing trees
Okay,
that are there now.
yeah.
And from the traffic perspective, I know Scott and his team is working very hard on the best way to communicate out on what the traffic pattern changes are. That's something that's going to be forthcoming, and I'm sure part of that conversation is, you know, what really is the appropriate way that we should be managing parking, and that's not using neighborhood access streets if possible.
Yeah, we're beginning that communication actually this week with students, grades 7 through 11.
Yeah.
And the 12th graders as well, but they'll be off somewhere else next year. So we began that, and we have more communication coming.
Okay.
We're gonna start our parking distribution months earlier than we ever have before to try to get all that from.
Yeah, I know the few that are parking in the Highlands right now are probably mid-year students. They might be juniors that got a license. Now have the ability to drive, but don't have a place to get a parking spot, which is understandable, you know, everybody.
I think it's
everybody's
something
kid
we
wants
can
to go to
continue to
school.
address and
Yeah.
evaluate and monitor as we go. I think that's all we can do.
Another question relative to that walkway, Crestwood coming in. Will the walkway be along the construction fence, or will there be some kind of pathway extended around the other side of the football field, which would make more sense to get them into the current school building?
It's gonna follow, yeah.
I can answer that. It's gonna follow that planting line. So you have two entrances there.
Okay.
I can stand one. I'm Nelson Reese. I'll be running the project. And actually, I live in, my daughter walks to school from the Highlands.
Yeah.
So along that green line, both, we're gonna be paving a path and segregating the students with a construction fence. And they're gonna come around the back. They're gonna hug the football field track area. And then there's gonna be a crosswalk on the back end of the school. So that they're not gonna be near the tennis court area. Currently, they're gonna be looped around towards the back of the pond. But completely segregated with a construction fence and a paved walkway.
Yeah, I mean, I think the folks from the lower streets there, Arwood and those, what they'll end up doing is just cutting through the town hall to get to, they'll just come through those neighborhoods backyard to come that way and come around the
It
town
will be
hall.
completely fenced off. So
Yeah.
they're not gonna.
Currently not. It's currently not. The other would be is it makes sense if there was pathway around the outside of the football field. I mean, even if it was just a walkway right around it, because you could bring them where your fence is gonna be right now is behind the bleachers for the football field. I mean, if you had them coming right along that hill of the football field, they're coming right into the back of the school, into the current 900 wing. I'm just thinking about where kids are going to make their path, and they're gonna make their path there because they're gonna be coming from the Highlands areas. You know, other than that, they're not gonna go all the way over to the backside of Ledgewood, where they would come over the crest from the soccer field. So you think about where kids are gonna go, they're gonna go right around the construction fence, and to me, they're gonna go right behind the stands for the football field. Right at the top of the baseball field, because that's where your fence is gonna be.
We got a few other matters, like, I know we have a hand-eye line as well. What, I think, if you guys don't mind, let me just take who's
Catherine, anyways.
provide.
Hello?
Hi, Catherine.
My concern is how this parking area is gonna affect the library and library programs and such. I know I've gotten stuck in the library parking lot when school's let out and not been able to get out for like half an hour. And because of the traffic, so I really do worry about how that's going to impact people coming in and out of the library. I also know that the library uses the field sometimes for concerts and things. So I don't know if that's going to play into any planning, but I thought I'd mention it. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. Yeah, we can talk a little bit more about some of the planning around that. I don't know, Scott, if you want to give at least where we kind of are on planning around that, the temporary parking lot and traffic patterns.
Sure, I can speak to the traffic patterns, maybe Kat can speak more to the library programming side, so. Yeah, there's a few times a day that aren't great to be around 10 Monteith Drive. One is, in the early morning hours, and the second is around 2:23. So I think we'll still expect escalated traffic patterns during that time. We've been partnering closely with the Farmington Police Department. We also have a security and monitoring team up at the high school. The high school staff monitor the high school property. We're not allowed to direct traffic on town roads, but working closely with our police department here, we expect that we'll have at minimum 2 officers. Where you see the red line off Monteith Drive taking a left into the, traversing through the library lot into the temporary lot and then taking the right back out onto Monteith. We've been told that we expect an officer there, both at arrival times and dismissal times, to help with the traffic flow. And then we'll have an additional officer working the traffic light during those times. So the police department has said they expect us to have at least 2 officers daily helping with the traffic there on Monteith. So we're hoping that will help alleviate some of it, although it will be heavier during the times of arrival and dismissal. And then I'll hand it over to Kat maybe for the library programming side.
Absolutely. We are working on coordinating meetings with library staff to make sure that we can make accommodations and do whatever we can, because we are all sharing that burden, us in town hall and library and also Staples House. I have had conversations with community and recreational services who are in Staples House and who have a summer concert series every Thursday. I believe they are able to get in a few of the concerts before the construction begins, and then they have made accommodations to have the concerts at the same location on that municipal campus site, but in a different area. So we are trying to work as best as we can with all of the inhabitants of the municipal campus so that we can do the best we can to get through this together.
Matt, you have a question?
Yeah, Matt, if I report to you, but thanks for the presentation. Thanks for taking the Q&A. So just for this early enabling and just in general, I'm just curious how much we're spending on these one-time sort of temporary costs and making sure we're doing everything we can to limit those. I'm sure we are. Just one for this slide is the temporary parking lot, right? Like, what does temporary mean? Is it asphalt? Is it gravel? Is it grass? How does it look like when it installs, and how does it look like when it goes away? Again, we just try to, I know, building a parking lot is probably not inexpensive, so are we limiting the amount of cost we're putting into that?
One update on just on scope overall of
Yes,
what's
it's
included.
going to be a paved parking lot, so it will look like a paved parking lot. However, the construction of it is not high quality in that it's meant to crumble in 2 years. So we're doing a thinner base. It's a very thin asphalt on top. So we're building it as cost effective as we can, but it will look like a regular parking lot. It will have lights. When the construction is done, it will then be removed and it will be completely restored, the field will be restored. But we're constructing it as cost effective as we can, knowing that it's only going to be there for 2 years.
Right. And just because I'm curious, so why does it need to be paved versus the grass, right? Like I know some people look at snow plow it and things like that.
It's just.
I think this is where we have some more of a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Safety, it's public works and plowing and safety and striping, so you get 135. But if you don't have a paved area with markings, maybe you only get 110 cars. Maybe someone's parked in the way, maybe someone's car's in the driving lane. Unfortunately, it's temporary, but it's still there for 2 solid years with 2 full-time with kids walking through it. And, we did what we could to limit the access through, traversing up the sledding hill for safety reasons to keep them on, paved paths. So we did everything we could to remove any extra cost. But this, between the town requirements for public works and the things on the safety side, this is basically the minimum we can do.
Yeah, Tim.
Yeah, just two questions. First one, what is the plan for the track team field events? So shot put, disc, javelin. I guess two-set question, what are you gonna do over the next 2 years? And then maybe what's that look like after? But I guess if you pull up the parking lot, you can have a lot of press. What are you gonna do for the next 2 years?
Scott, do you want to take this one as
We
well?
were talking,
So
so.
It's a very topical conversation.
For the 2 years.
So we haven't finalized, there's a few different athletics impacts, not only shot put, javelin. Well, shot put is actually in the green fencing there, javelin is on the base of the F hill where you're talking about, Mr. Kelly. So what I expect is we'll most likely be moving those to the upper fields. We're gonna have to do some other shuffling around with athletics. Tennis is impacted, baseball is impacted, so we have some other impacts with our athletics program, but we've noted those and discussed those. We're gonna lose all of our field events. We're gonna have to move those. Likely, we're thinking to the upper field, all three to the upper field, that will have use of those.
And my second question is, and I know this isn't fairly with, but the latest 1928 committee that's underway is planning to keep a significant portion of the existing, meaning the old high school, in addition to the 1928, side building. So as an example, the two gyms and all that goes with that on 1928 building. So if they should do that, this would eliminate the planned relocation of the baseball field to that portion of ground where the baseball field was going to go to under your plan. So I know these are two different committees colliding, but I'm thinking about the baseball kids now. And should this second committee be successful, and in Farmington we're always successful, the question is then, where's the baseball field go?
So the quick answer is we don't have an answer for that. Because the committee, the 1928 committee has just started to meet.
Yeah.
And yes, they're looking at all those options. I will add that the baseball field is still an alternate right now, which we'll get into a little bit more because of obviously a lot of the issues with the environment fiscally and inflation and all that stuff. We've had to go through a series, so that baseball field is in question at this point, regardless of what the 1928 building does.
Okay. So, and my issues with you folks, all the good work you've done, but, we're going to basically look at doubling the town hall facilities up on Monteith Drive, for cost and crunch reasons. We've already taken out a girls softball field, right? And now we're talking about taking out a baseball field. I just want to make sure we're on the right priorities here when we get done spending all this money. And again, I know every committee is just optimizing to their specific mission, but to the average citizen, you'd like to see it all make sense 5 years from now as opposed to.
I mean, they are separate committees. I will say that there is some overlap in the sense that we have a representative on our building committee that is part of the 1928 committee.
Right.
So that if there is something glaring that needs to be addressed, it'll come up sooner than later. And obviously with the overlap from the council standpoint, we're aware, especially with myself being on the council, and then looking at Chris Fagan being both part of it. And I've been on the high school committee for long enough, I don't even know how long anymore, that we are going to be getting updates every 2 weeks or every month as we meet to make sure. So there is some communication between the two communities, just to make sure we're not doubling efforts or missing something.
Yeah, I'm foreseeing a baseball field ad hoc committee at some point. In the future. And that might be enough to get you to move to another state. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think to that point, there's a lot of coordination. There's a lot of things we're talking about today that we are still, remember, in design. At this point, we're still, we've made a lot of great decisions and are moving forward, but there's a lot of dependencies in the work that we're doing with other things that are happening in town. Our goal, and I will reiterate it, you'll hear it again, probably multiple times tonight, is obviously our goal from the building committee perspective is to maintain educational programming whenever we can. That is the top priority. So as you hear us have all these conversations, please know, and I think the community does know that how important that is to us as a committee, and really it shapes all our conversation and focus. So, again, it's not easy. It's a big project. There's a lot of pieces and parts and timing and coordination and dependencies, but we're going to try to keep bringing these forward to you. We appreciate the comments and the thinking around it, because I think it just shows how engaged the community is and wanting to make sure this is successful for the town of Farmington overall and with all these projects. So, you'll hear a little bit more about this, but as we learn more, as we make decisions, we're doing those at building committees building committee meetings every 2 weeks, but we'll try to do these more often too, to give people an opportunity to ask questions and really kind of dig a little deeper on some of the work we're doing. Good online. All right. Great conversation. A lot going on there. There we go. So I'm going to turn this over to Kat now that we've kind of done a high level overview, and she can kind of do some of the VE and budget information.
Hi, everyone. So throughout each phase of the building project, and now we've gone through schematic design, enhanced schematic design, design development, and we are now finishing up construction documents. The professional partnership team conducts cost estimates based on current market conditions. If the construction estimates come in over budget, which they have, the building committee completes value engineering, or VE, to bring the cost back to the original budget. Now, please note that value engineering is a standard practice in building projects, both large and small. So this is nothing new or specific to our building project. The process involves a professional partnership team meeting with the design working group to identify line items in the project that can, 1, be removed from the scope of the project, or 2, include them as add alternates in the event that bidding prices are favorable and items can be added back into the project. We have identified a number of alternates that we would like to prioritize and add back into the project if bidding is favorable. When approving VE items, and Meg just alluded to this, our main priority is not to impact educational programming. The building committee reviews the VE list created and then approves them at the building committee meetings. Our last round of VE was approved, and this is after the design development phase, on May 11th, and the updated cost estimate for construction costs was $361,000 below the original budget. So this is just a snapshot of our budget after design development. And again, these estimates are based on current market conditions, but we won't be locked into pricing until bids are received at the end of the summer. So just a quick rundown. Architectural and engineering design fees total $5.6 million, professional fees $2.9 million, construction costs $115.6 million, FF&E and technology $5.1 million, owner contingency $6.3 million, for a grand total of $135.5 million, which is on target for our authorization that was just about a year ago today at $135.6 million. There has been an update on the next line for state reimbursement. I'm sure you have heard that we have, thanks to our legislative delegation, an increased rate to 30% for both parts of the project. We had varying reimbursement rates for the high school project and the 900 wing, but now it is 30% for all of it. This is an increase of $14.4 million in funding that we did not anticipate, for a total of $40.6 million in reimbursement from the state of Connecticut. This means that the net town share has moved from $109.3 million, like we thought it would be before referendum, to $94.9 million. So that's a great savings to the taxpayers of Farmington. Do we have any questions about these?
Well, just for the record,
Yes.
this question I've heard. So just why couldn't the town take that $14 million and increase the budget to help pay for inflation and not have to cut back on square footage or not lose a softball field or not lose a baseball field and keep those in there and use that 14 million.
Right.
Again, just curious, like the mechanics of that.
Because we are bound to that $135.6 million that was passed at referendum, and that's what our budget is built on. So even though we are making these value engineering decisions, we're still at that $135.6 million total. So that 30% reduces the net town share, but unfortunately, it does not account for those escalations, that we're seeing.
In order for us to spend one additional penny, we would have to go back for a referendum to get it approved. So we are bound to that number.
Got it. We can only spend 135, whatever.
Correct. Yes.
So my question is a little bit of a corollary to that, maybe it's the same answer. But we have ARPA funds today to the tune of 7.5 million, it come from the feds. So not part of the whole state algorithm, here's what you can spend, here's what we'll, rebate and all that stuff, right? So this is the money that comes from forever. Could we use those funds either to lower the amount of debt we have to carry on this project, and or maybe again cover that softball field, baseball field, keep the best roof on the building we can, whatever it is that we're kind of struggling with now. And the only reason I say that is, 5% overage, which isn't a lot in today's inflation environment for construction, out of about 140 million is $7 million. So, we've kind of, I think, pared down, a couple, 3 million here. I don't know if all that work's done, right, over the next 2 years. We haven't even broke the ground. Now, I'd love to be wrong on that. But again, with the ARPA funds, we treat those differently than sort of all the state and kind of in-house money that we have to manage based on where we're going.
So
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. John,
So
do
the
you wanna-
ARPA funds have strings attached that don't allow you to pay down debt or reduce budgets, et cetera. That's, the money came over, it was a lot more stringent, the rules have been somewhat relaxed, because a lot of towns, like Farmington, were sitting on the money.
Right.
Yes, it could be used to do a baseball field afterwards,
Right.
because it could be used to any capital project. There is a committee just looking at ARPA funds. They have some recommendations, at least recommending the types of projects we should be doing, but no formal recommendations have happened. Some of the discussion has been along those lines. If, depending on what happens with the 1928 committee, what gets removed from things that could be done as a capital project are all open, but nothing's been discussed in detail or voted on at this point. So the short answer is no on the debt. Yes, we could do auxiliary projects. Legally, I don't know if we can attach it to the high school. I think it would have to be done as a standalone project. That I would leave the smarter people in the room to answer that part. But that one would be kind of a wiggle room kind of thing where you'd have to set it up, but I don't know exactly how that would work.
And just one thing to note about the overall budget is because we're going out again at each phase of the project, we are getting those current market conditions. For example, for escalation, before referendum, we started, and correct me if I'm wrong, at around 4%. And now we're up to 8% because of what's going on in the environment. So we are trying to account for all of these things so that when we do go to bid, hopefully we're on or below. That's our goal, by getting the most up-to-date numbers that we possibly can. We are getting another update. We just finished construction documents, so we are doing this whole VE. Hopefully we don't have to do a lot and we're right on there, but we are getting an updated cost estimate in the next probably month or so.
John, again, this is actually for John, for going back to the council. I think it'd be important that the council give some kind of communication out to the town, what the impact is of that increased reimbursement for the school, because a lot of people's minds are going to go directly to, does that mean I'm going to have to pay less tax? Okay. And really, it may or may not be at the point when this is finished, because we don't know what the costs are gonna be. You're not gonna get your reimbursement until your project is complete, all of it, those kind of things. But a lot of folks, all they've read in the paper and all they can read in here is that there's been, an extra $14 million. And their immediate mind is, well, that should be coming back to us and it should be lowering our tax rate that we already voted that we're gonna be spending it. So I think that's an important thing for the town council to communicate on behalf of this building.
I agree with you, and it is a difficult thing to talk about because it's confusing.
Yeah.
But yes, it's exactly right, that 14 million is less money the town has to budget for long-term in future bonding. I will add to that, the council decided to bond double this spring. So instead of bonding 20 million this year, we actually bonded 40. And the way it worked out, we got a slam dunk interest rate.
Mhm.
So it's not just the 14 million, we're also gonna save on the long term. But you're absolutely right, something simple and easy to follow would be a good idea to communicate out.
And like Johnny was just talking about with that bonding, when we were showing that financial forecast before referendum, we said that we're always trying to look for ways to help mitigate that tax impact. And that's one of the ways we did that, because we knew the feds were gonna raise the interest rate multiple times this year. And we tried to capitalize on that by locking in at a lower interest rate and bonding more. So I think that'll help in the out years, where we're not having to pay as much interest throughout the course of the project.
I mean, I know you guys are the experts as far as the building and the value added and those kind of things, but I think it's the council's responsibility to communicate that to the town versus looking to you guys to say, what is my savings? Because you're just trying to deal with the costs and
Right.
bidding and all that kind of stuff. It really should go back to council.
And I think there's still a lot of unknowns until we have those bids on bid day to
Yep.
see where we are.
Yep.
Matt, did you have a
Yeah,
question?
just two more quick sort of value engineering. So I assume that if the committee's going through and once the real prices are coming in, you have to sort of reduce certain aspects of the project. Is there any sort of document for the town to show, here's where we voted on this project in June 2021, and here's what we were expecting, and here's where we are today based on all of these circumstances that have happened in terms of pricing, or the gym was going to be this size and now the gym is this size, or the weight room is this size? Because I think it gives a feel for people like, here's what's actually going on once the sort of real world bidding is happening.
Yeah, and we had the same feeling. So at our last meeting, we actually had a list compiled of every action we've taken for VE items. And that is everything we even looked at and said, absolutely not, we're not doing that. Because it's our professional partnership's job, our professional partner's job to come to us and say, here's everything we could do to reduce the cost of this project. And some of them might impact programming. So we said, absolutely not. So you can see each step of the way through each design development phase, what we've accepted or rejected. That is in the minutes, but I will make sure it's more prominent on our website.
Is that anything major? I just for the town, like, no, there's a minor stuff where no one, the lay person would know.
I think some of them are more minor things like finishes or, stuff
Types
like
of
that.
piping we're using.
Yeah.
This
I think-
type of roof we're using,
We didn't
it's
lose
equivalent, but
most
less.
classrooms. so-
No, no, and again, because that would impact programming. I think the biggest one, and Johnny had mentioned it, is the baseball field. And we did have that as an alternate so that if bidding's favorable, we can look at that again.
So the list that we compiled of things we accepted to reduce, things we rejected, and things that we said, we're not ready to cut this, but we're ready to put it here, prioritize it, and if we do have the chance, we'll go back and add it back in.
And on that alternate list, you will see, I believe there's 8 items on it right now. Those are not in priority order. The building committee will then need to take a look at it and say, this is number 1, we want to put back into the project, and then go down the list accordingly.
I might add one other thing that's in the BE, the lowest hanging fruit wasn't even cutting things out of scope, it was substitutes.
Right.
This for that.
This for that, like,
So you still have a different brick versus the brick that was spec. We save money, so it's not a loss of something, it's just a substitution of one product versus another.
exactly.
Is there any value engineering tied to, gotta ask like 1928, tied to not the town hasn't made a decision on 1928 or the existing building. Is there any value engineering tied to that decision not being made? And then, let's say, for example, that decision was made tomorrow, would we be able to do better value engineering for this project?
There's an alternate. So for example, the demolition of the entire current facility is included in our base bid. But we do have an alternate that says, okay, if the gyms stay or a little bit more than the 1928 building stays, what's the cost? And we want to ask this up front so we get the best, we hope to get the best pricing. What's the cost to not demo this? And that would be a credit back to the building committee. So although there are some unknowns, we're trying to be as flexible as possible and try to be as smart as possible so that if there are returns to the building committee, we can maximize those.
And the time frame that was set in place for the 1928 building is supposed to have those answers so that we could still facilitate our end on any savings or questions that are left, answered basically. So we will react on that.
Can I just
Yeah.
clarification that the demolition of the 1928 building itself is not.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that.
So, but I guess my question is, because we haven't made a decision on that section of the building or the other years, whatever other years, there's something going on, is there something going on with the value engineering where, because the town hasn't made a decision, if the town said, listen, the existing building is no longer going to exist, how much better value engineering would this project, would you be able to do with this project? Or how much is it costing the town? Because again, we haven't made a decision yet.
Well, like Mark just said, the 1928 is not included. There are no dollars associated with the standalone 1928 building. We actually took those out before referendum. So if the 28 stays, it does not impact the building.
So the 135 million
Does not include
does
anything.
not include any of the existing building.
It includes the existing facility demolition, except for the 1928 building itself.
In the renovation, there's an area that's staying, 900.
Oh, and the 900 one, yes, that's not being demolished. It is, and this is where
It's
they're
very
separate,
confusing.
but they're intertwined.
Correct. It's very confusing and it's one of those things that almost charts that need to be drawn. But there's just so many question marks that I think would be more confusing than anything. But at the end of the day, the 1928 building will have its own referendum regardless of what they vote on. Because they'll vote to tear it down, they're gonna need money for that. They'll vote to leave it as is, they're gonna need money to patch the back of the building. Or they'll vote to keep the whole thing, and we will then, only then, see some savings on our side. Because we're not demolishing the gyms and the auditorium areas, but it's not a big number. It's, a few $100,000 or something like that. It's nothing crazy, but it would allow us a little extra money to maybe put in little things that we thought that we really needed or prioritized. But it is completely separate, but there won't be a ton of impact on our side.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm gonna pass it over to Kathy Breeder to go over interior renderings.
Good evening, and it's really wonderful to be here and to be sharing some of the renderings, the interior renderings of the building. First and foremost, as superintendent and on behalf of the Board of Education, I just want to thank the residents of Farmington for their support of the new FHS facility. This is really an asset to our community and will serve generations of students. And we're really excited about a very flexible school facility that will accommodate changes and educational trends over time. And so I hope that you see some examples of that as I go through the interior renderings. Farmington's vision of the global citizen is really central to how we develop curriculum, programming, how we deliver that curriculum, and now it really has been central to the design of the new high school. So our students, I think it's important to talk about how our students learn today because it has changed. Our students are engaged in much more active learning that is collaborative and self-directed. And our new high school is being designed for that type of learning. So some examples are students work on projects where they're expected to apply knowledge to very complex problems. And so this looks like, what it looks like in classrooms is small group work, circle up debates, demonstrations, partner work, and independent work. And this changes day to day, period by period. And so we really do need flexible space throughout the new high school design. So our students are much more involved today than ever before in hands-on making and doing, creating and producing. Very, very active learning, not passive, and doing the real work of scientists, musicians, artists, engineers, builders, and designers. So this state-of-the-art building will create learning spaces that really accommodate students being very active within their classrooms, but also outside in the hallways. We have a very large main street in this building, and within that space, there are spaces for students to work together. That is something that you would see in the current high school, but in very narrow hallways, and it makes it very difficult. To have a very large hallway, we're going to have a lot of space for that type of learning. We also will have new spaces that we have never had before, like a black box theater, makerspace, and robotics. We hope to also expand biomedical programming in our high school. We are a hub here in Farmington because of Jackson Lab and the Yukon Medical Center, and that's something our students are very interested in. So our students really learn best when there's this combination of independent and interdependent time for thinking, writing, reflection, reading, and research. So as I go through the renderings, I hope you see evidence of that. And we really want our students to be prepared for the future and become global citizens who are thinkers, collaborators, contributors, empowered learners, and really self-aware individuals. So on this slide, you see a diagram on the left, which is the first floor of the new high school. And you will see access to the school, which is at the front of the building, or the right side of the diagram of this left-hand diagram. There's a large hallway or a main street that welcomes all students and provides access to all parts of the building, a very different design than we currently have. And at the bottom of the left-hand side diagram is the after-hours access, which is at the bottom of that diagram. And this is really for community access, and it's very close to the gymnasiums and the auditorium and the black box theater. And then you see on the right-hand side is the upper floor. So the entrance of the building, as students walk in, will look like this. It is important to know that the finishings and the color scheme within these photos are subject to change. We're still working on that. There's a large open hallway space that will allow for large groups of students to enter without feeling crowded immediately as they enter that building. Again, a very different feel than our students are currently experiencing. So I want you to really notice how the hallway is used as a flexible learning space with flexible furniture that can be moved and changed depending on what the activity might be there. Students, again, will have a lot of self-direction within this building. So they can choose to, instead of being in the cafeteria, come to this space and huddle up and work on a project. And it really is very much like the world of work and what students will experience in college. So we're really excited that our community, our students will enter this high school, and this is just a really inspiring rendering of that entryway. The next picture that I'm showing to you is a hallway amphitheater within the first floor. And so notice that this is an informal space that can be utilized for a variety of events and learning experiences, presentations, having outside experts come in and have showcases, study groups, community events, demonstrations of learning. And if you have a high school student, you know about our Aspire and Capstone project. That is a mastery-based project at the end, usually at the end of a high school student's career. It's a mandate for our graduation requirement. And students, this will be a space that potentially some of those projects could be displayed or presented to others. Teachers can bring students out to this space as an alternate to the classroom learning environment. This is an opposite view looking down the hallway behind the amphitheater Main Street hallway space. And you can see there's a great deal of light and an open feel. No longer do you see narrow hallways. Instead, it's really inspiring space for our students that will include displays of work products on the walls. That's a real priority and the type of learning that students engage in, that they can display their work and they could have opportunities to critique one another's work. So whether it's in classrooms or outside in the hallway or our cafeteria, you're going to see a lot of display areas so that we can really feature to our, both within our own school community, but also the larger community, those projects. This is a view of the cafeteria, which is between the gymnasiums and the auditorium. There are, again, display cases to showcase learning projects, as well as collaborative space, independent space, and flexibility, and how we utilize this area of the high school, both during the school day and after school when we are hosting athletic events, as well as music and theater productions. This will be really exciting, both for our students, but also for our entire community. Right now, our auditorium is not really utilized a lot by the community, and I think we'll have many, many more requests to utilize the Black Box Theater and our auditorium. And so this building really is exciting, not only for our students, but for the whole community. This is a rendering of the FHS gymnasium. One of them, we have two. Just like our current building, there are two gymnasiums to accommodate for during the day and after school athletic, physical education, and health and wellness programming. You can see our new Riverhawks mascot logo is there, and this looks more like a gymnasium at a university level. And this space allows us to now host statewide championships. So we're really excited about that and having that opportunity to do that at home within our own school, instead of going to other schools to do that. And here's an example of an art space. Students will really be inspired by the beautiful view of the Farmington landscape outside. And you see some really creative ways of, looking at the ceiling work and things like that. So again, we want to create a building that is really inspiring our students to be creative, curious learners. We also feel that, and we know from research that the environment that students are in is important for their social, emotional well-being. That is a real priority now as we are coming out of the pandemic. And we know that students, when it comes to learning, there is an emotional base to learning. So we want students to come in and be happy and inspired, and the light and the openness of this building, I think, will really benefit our students in new ways. So here is an example of an orchestra classroom that is fully accessible. Right now we have tiers and it is not fully accessible, and it has state-of-the-art acoustic treatments. So this will be a welcoming space for all learners. The next two slides feature a new program space, which is the Black Box Theater for drama, lectures, and exhibitions of learning. It's a very flexible space. Things, the seating can be moved. And so we can use this both during the day for academic programming, but also have events at night here that will benefit our students as well as the entire community. The shades are movable, and so it will reveal light and bringing really the outside into the Black Box Theater. The next two slides show our new auditorium, which is fully accessible with state-of-the-art acoustics. Here's a different view on the next slide. So you're really looking down onto the stage. And again, this is another community space that can be used after hours. But we really look forward to showcasing learning and performances within this space, and that will be across subject areas. We have an exciting music program here in Farmington, and I know that this space is something that students look forward to, because right now the acoustics in our current space is not conducive to performances, and this will be. So that is an overview of the interior renderings. I know when I first viewed this, I was so excited. I know that Dr. Hurwitz just reviewed some of this with students. So, you know, there's an excitement at FHS and IAR because the students coming up are also really, you know, they can't wait for the new building to open. So I will end there and we'll just open it up to any other questions.
Thank you, Superintendent Greener, and really thanks to the committee and the town staff. This is really great, helpful. Can you dive in quick on the special education space and how that compares to today's current building space?
Yes, so we're very proud of our special education programming. We have many more programs here in Farmington than most districts. We do try to prioritize having our students engage in learning within our buildings so they can fully access all the programming that we have. So we built several specialized programs and our educational specifications are specific to the programs that we have. So we're going to have now even better space for those programs that really reflect what's needed. And again, that is flexible space. So as programming changes and adjusts over time, we're going to have the space to do that. I think when you think about this building and you look at the classrooms, because the classrooms are so flexible, we can easily move programs around as well. But nothing has changed, nothing's been reduced as far as special education programming. And I will just reiterate what Kat said. I really am very appreciative of the high school building committee because they have prioritized not affecting programs. This is a building that will be here for decades and again, educate generations of students. We want to make sure that the building is large enough and is able to really quickly adapt to changes in enrollment, changes in programming that we will have for the future.
You talked about my last question, and that's it for me, but so enrollment projections, right? Like we have to make projections for this building for the next 50 years. Has any of that changed in the past year? And obviously, we're fortunate to live in a popular town and, you know, developers are entering our town with new apartments and new housing developments that potentially will come in. How do we think about that and that sort of news that kind of happens over the months and years of this project?
So that is something that we monitor. We have an annual report that gets updated to look at the enrollment trends. We have never seen, although other communities have, a decrease in enrollment. I know over the last decade, there were many articles saying that school-age student population is changing and really being reduced in Connecticut. And districts did experience that, but Farmington never did. We've had very steady enrollment. I think the pandemic is something that we're all going to have to really look at enrollment and the trends that we see. We've seen many more families moving recently because I think the housing market here in Farmington we've just moved a lot more homes than we typically do. So we are watching that. We have an elementary enrollment group that's looking at elementary enrollment, but those elementary numbers move up to the high school. So I think as we continue to deal with the impact of the pandemic, we're going to watch that closely, and we will be updating those numbers every year so that we're prepared. But again, this is a building that is very flexible, and we haven't reduced the classroom size. We would have to, just like we do in our elementary schools, if we had huge enrollment fluctuations, we would just use space differently. And I think this is a building that accommodates for that, but we do have to continue to monitor that. We did hear from Guilford after they built their new building, they did see an increase in high school enrollment because it's exciting to have a new building in town. So again, I think the enrollment projections are what they are. The square footage is based on the enrollment projections we had at the time. I believe it's 1404 at the highest point in the next 10 years. So that's what the educational specifications and the square footage are based on. And, you know, we'll continue to monitor that in the future.
Thank you. I would just add that there are space standards that the state requires, so based on your enrollment projections for that 8-year period of time, your space standards are limited to the size based on your enrollment projections. So the school won't allow you, the state won't, they'll allow you to build the school as big as you like, they'll only reimburse you for up to what those enrollment projections are. So it's really hard to make sure that town gets the most reimbursement out of it. 1,400 is our number. 1,404. Yeah, what's the current enrollment? 1,200.
Almost we're currently.
And I would concur with Kathy, with Kathy that there are a lot of other towns that we work with that see the opposite, so it's exciting to see. Yeah, it's a good problem to have. Yeah. I think one would do that. Thank you.
Yes, there's one online question here. We're gonna take this one, but we do recommend for those of the community that are joining us, if you just kind of raise your hand and provide a comment, it's a little easier than monitoring chat and Q&A for us.
I'm so.
Solar question.
Meg, do you want to read it? So.
Yep, so I understand this presentation addressed the interior of the building, but I am wondering if there will be a solar component for providing some or all of the energy needs of the building. So this is, I know, Johnny, you've answered some questions on this too. This was something that we did evaluate very early on in the project, actually pre-referendum. If you had joined us in any of our previous conversations, we did a full evaluation of solar, all sorts of alternate energy options, and did full kind of costing analysis on that as far as kind of the return of investment back to us based on those options. And we did do some evaluation with town council, balanced that against our net municipal cost range. If you remember, we had a range of costs that we needed to sit within. And it was decided at the point we bought this project to referendum that those components would not be part of our scope of work. That being said, it is my understanding that we are doing some work as far as being able to possibly add some of that later on to the building. So we are not preventing us from possibly introducing some of these advantages in the future, but it is not part of our scope of work for this project and will not be delivered as part of that 2024 implementation. Did I get that right across our professional partners?
You did, right? So I'm gonna add about that. My name is Mark. Construction Solutions Group, we're the owner. I mentioned that earlier. Answer the question. So the design does include in the structurals to be able to support capabilities to handle any photovoltaic solution. So we wanted to make sure that anything we didn't have to go back to the structure of the building anyway. So the idea would be, maybe that's a capital project down the road that the town might consider as well as the ability to convert.
Some of the discussion along the way was, the building codes have come a long way in the last 10 or 12 years. We've had many reiterations and the energy has been the focus for a lot of it. And so just building the code, I think, puts you in LEED silver from that commercial standpoint. So we're an extremely energy efficient building already. So that's what played into the cost benefit and the payback periods that was considered at the time that we were looking at the overall project.
If we can add to at our first meeting today, high performance review, we've got a team of professionals from our commissioning agent to our co-runner, who's our HVAC, mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineers. They're on that team. The architects, the folks from ONG, our folks from our member source, are all part of that team, and we've got a goal I think to be right now we're tracking at about 19% better than the building standards are requiring us to be. So we've got a goal to even improve that further, but there are energy credits that we'll be getting back through this process, but we've got to hit a certain goal in order to make that happen. So we went through a very lengthy list of energy efficiency items that our mechanical units are meeting. There's also air quality units that, all those kinds of things that we have to take into consideration, not just energy savings, but green building as well.
So we're going to still keep it open here for questions and answers. I'm just going to kind of move on to the next slide just because there's some information here. I'm not, my point here isn't to cut off any additional discussion, but just want to make sure that people have an understanding of kind of upcoming building committee meeting dates. This is also included in the newsletter that was sent out, but gives you a good indication at 5 o'clock time frame. Also via Zoom, you do also have the availability to watch us after the fact on Facebook if you want to actually view the meetings. We have the website as a source of information. There is a contact form on our website that we encourage the entire community to use as far as answering questions. If for some reason something strikes you when you walk out of the meeting tonight, based on what we presented, please, by all means, go and use that contact form to kind of ask questions or get clarification on anything. We're more than happy to do that. And then one of the things that I mentioned that maybe also is a resource that a little drier, but a really good source of information is our meeting minutes. I know it's not the most exciting reading, and I completely understand that, but it really is an excellent source of not only the comments that are made in the meeting, but also a lot of supporting documentation. But sometimes it's hard to put some pieces together when you're kind of maybe listening in on our meetings. So I just want to remind people that that exists as well. They can go out and actually take a look at our meeting minutes and supporting and supplemental documentation.
Sign up for the chair.
Oh, and the chair report, of
Yeah.
course. I don't even know why I wouldn't even think of that. So the chair report is sent out immediately after each. Devin does an awesome job. It's kind of a quick 3 to 4 bullets of main decision points that happened in the meeting. Just another good way to keep connected to the project and some of the progress and decisions we're making. So keep note of these building committee meetings. You can also see that on our website. We have a calendar as well there, so you can actually view. And I believe we're still doing the link out on the calendar dates as well for these meetings. So easy way to get to Zoom links. So you're not kind of digging through things as we all are today in emails. By all means, go right to those dates on the calendar. You can actually access right there to join us virtually as well. And then obviously, the website, our Facebook page, Twitter and Instagram. So we try to do our best. We will not inundate these things at any time with, daily posts or information, but as things are critical, we certainly try to post those out there and get information out there. But also don't want to, I just want to make sure people understand how valuable the website is as well. We're trying our very hardest to keep critical information on that landing page. So the first thing you see is timeline, newsletter link, things that are very, very timely, and we're going to maintain that moving forward. But there's a lot of information as well within the website too for access and just additional details. So just want to make sure that everybody kind of remembers those resources as we leave this meeting, but also want to just kind of one last opportunity for questions or anything else. We have another one. I'm talking. I wasn't. Oh. Thank you, Catherine.
I have one. One of the things I had asked was, had you guys gone back to any of the local neighborhood communities like you did before, especially the Highlands? I think it's important that that group understand your July 11th date before they start making lots of phone calls of racket and things coming up and filling up your mailbox. I think that it would behoove you guys to put out something, even if you just put some kind of blast, either they have their own page or whatever, but really look into that, especially for those neighbors that surround the high school.
I got a better idea, go on vacation.
Yeah, I wouldn't even.
We appreciate that feedback and it's something, thanks. I definitely on our radar to make sure that we're engaging and keeping them up to date, as well as, I don't know if you remember when we were actually doing some of the communications pre-referendum oh, actually more post-referendum and talking about how when construction actually starts, we'll have liaisons in place that will be specific and contact information for neighbors and things like that. So it's, and additional communications and meetings. And so we know how important that group is, to just keep them informed.
Yeah.
So it's definitely on our radar to try to get out
because-
before.
I mean, there's a lot of, the reason I came tonight was because very cryptic on what was included in the enabling, early
Yes.
enabling.
Yes.
I think you could have done a lot more information in here on
Yep.
what that included. Because that was my reason for coming tonight, was just for my own neighborhood to say, you know, what is that gonna include?
Sure. Did you get the information you were looking for?
I got it all. I'm just expecting that I'm gonna hear from town council on taxes. And somebody's gonna be working with public works and traffic commission
Yeah,
on
and that balance is
on
always
those
hard
things.
for us to strike,
Yeah.
and how much do we include and how but so we appreciate that feedback, and I think we can help kind of focus that communication, as you mentioned, to
Yeah.
people that, and direct impacts.
Yeah.
You know, versus kind of a broad, yep, traffic patterns are gonna change, and construction's gonna start means one thing to somebody on one side of town,
Yeah,
and a very different thing.
Yep.
To people in the neighborhood that are.
yeah, they're calling Scott every day.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate that.
So if there's a communication put out there, I'm on the Facebook Highlands
Yeah,
page.
so am I.
Nelson's in the
Yeah, I'm
neighborhood
on
too,
it.
so you got the guy running the project and the guy that can make noise right there, right around. We're good.
Anything else or any other questions? No? Excellent. Well, we thank you very much for engaging with us tonight, asking questions, all good information and conversation. For those online as well, thank you very much for sticking with us. So not bad, 20 after 7. I think that's pretty good. So again, if you have questions, anything pops up after the fact, please by all means contact us using that contact form. We'll get an answer to you as quickly as we can. All right, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah.